So apparently I have a death wish. I know this guy definitely has a death wish because while I'm obviously made a mess of everything and am working, he wants to play with everything and scratch everything up. This little girl is chilling on the back of Cosmo. That's my Monday motorbikes. Working good. Gotta adjust the brakes a little bit. This is my baby Wanda. She's taken apart. I'm very unorganized right now. But the battery. Battery! I don't know if you're supposed to hit batteries like this because I have no education. I have no background. I have very little electrical knowledge. Like, I know there's a lot of formulas for, like, voltage and wattage, but otherwise, completely ignorant. That's me. So, John Angel told me not to do this. I talked to V at Powerful Lithium. He told me not to do this. I talked to Chris at Onyx, Chris Vaughn or something like that. I'm sorry for calling you out, Chris. I think it was Chris. It might have been Nathan. I don't know. I talked to a white dude at Onyx, and he told me definitely not to do this. He's like, Onyx will not be liable. We cannot tell people to open batteries. Here is why I open my battery. I don't know if you're supposed to hit it like this. Okay. Who am I? Look at this battery. So what happened was I had changed my connector out. So on this Mr. Doodad, I had, where are this? I had this connector. You see that little black in there? That's foreshadowing. Can you see that? Is it focused? So that's foreshadowing. I have two Onyx 10 amp chargers. On the Onyx 10 amp charger, it says that from the charger, the output wire, brown is plus and blue is negative. Well, you know, Onyx makes great stuff, and I'm super glad that's labeled. But do you want to know who decided to try to save a buck and get a cheap Chinese charger? It was me. Okay, so since I tried to save a buck, I got this charger. It's a little smaller, it's a little bit lighter, it is a little weird. You have to flip two switches. One activates the voltage and one activates the amperage. I am ignorant on that, so don't quote me, I could be wrong. You turn this dial when it powers up. Here, I can even plug it in and show you. Wow, okay. So you see that? 0 amps. I flip one switch and it tells me 84 volts. I flip the second switch and it tells me nothing. Okay, so let's reverse that. Let's flip the first switch and then a second switch, or backwards. Both of the switches are on 0 amperage. When you plug it in, you're supposed to be able to use this dial, and this dial goes from 2 to 10 amps. Well, I love being cheap and saving money, but you want to know what happened? I messed up. When you look at the inside of this Chinese charger, here, hold on. What are you doing, baby boy? Are you here to cause me problems? This video might not be the most professionally production-wise, but it's going to be entertaining, and you might learn something from my mistakes, so keep watching if you want. What color are these wires? Inside this cheap Chinese charger, the wires that they use happen to be, whoa, can you see that? Blue and brown. Well, on this connector, the positive is the back and the negative is the front. So based on the information I had, I knew that the positive was the back on this connector, and I knew that the positive needed to be the brown wire, and the negative needed to be the blue wire. Soldered it up, plugged it in to test it. Was pretty confident because I've already modded one of my chargers, but regardless, that was a hell of a shrink tube job, my first one. So the problem when I plugged it up was obvious. The wires were switched, and it blew my BMS, and for a while my BMS wouldn't charge. So what would happen on the BMS is I would go into the app, the voltages read normal, the output and amperage read normal, the protection had been activated in the error messages, but I couldn't enable charging on the battery. So I use this bike as my only means of transportation. I know you can't tell because it's not in transportation mode, but I am working on it. I'm working on it, I swear. Anyway, when I take things apart and mess with things up, I tend to get really anxious. So I called John Angel immediately, and I was like, emergency, John. And John was like, I got you. John is a fucking angel, if I can say that. John hooked me up with a guy that builds batteries. I have to pay out the ass for it, and especially to get it expressed. But they are building me a 52 amp hour high discharge rate battery, and they are currently working on shipping it to me. So I'm pretty stoked for that, especially because I thought this battery was borked. Now, why do I keep talking about all of these things in the past tense? And why is my battery open? Well, it's because I'm a crazy person. Once I verified that my battery was working, I was like, well, it's time for an adventure. I already have a new working battery on the way, so worst case scenario, if I messed this battery up, I've got a new one coming by Tuesday or Wednesday. Cool? So, this Onyx casing is super easy to remove the lid for. The top lid where your handle is on your Onyx battery is kept in and protected by like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 screws. What's a pain in the ass is that this is a solid box with only the top to come out. Well, the battery's pretty heavy, so you'd think it would just slide out, but the wires, for whatever reason, are super snug through here, which is probably for waterproofing and protection. Like, Onyx was very smart to include this because they are selling these things to fucking idiots. Excuse my language. I'm so sorry about the French. So, Onyx was super smart to, like, I don't know if you're supposed to set metal on here. Let's not do that. So, Onyx was super smart to do this. But there was other things Onyx wasn't super smart with, which is why I had to change connectors on the battery. But now my battery works. So this has been a really long-winded, almost 10-minute video. I'm going to order some plastic shielding, some Big O shrink wrap. I looked at ordering a new BMS, but I didn't really find one with any features that were super exciting. I looked on AliExpress for the BMS. Yeah, I think I'm going to order a TIG welder and start looking at supplies, and I think I'm going to start practicing putting batteries in series because it would be really cool to be a battery builder in Texas. The only thing is I'm in North Texas, so not the cool part of Texas, you know, the lame cow part. Batteries are cool though. Hold on. I have to be careful when I'm lifting it. Get out of here, Dolce. Why do you have a death wish? Please leave. Did you bring me your toy? Okay. So this is the bottom. I don't know that you're supposed to turn it upside down like this, but I've disabled, obviously, because I'm smart, you know. I disabled charging and discharging before I took the battery apart. The first layer was the box. After the box was the shrink wrap. The sides were actually not shrink wrapped. They were covered strictly in tape And then the tape, behind the tape was this like fire resistant or flame retardant plastic sheeting. So I could reuse this. Like Onyx probably uses quality materials, I would assume. I mean, it's probably all from China, but anyway, I could probably reuse the plastic sheeting, not the heat shrink. And I could definitely reuse this case, but I think this weighs a lot, and I think it's redundant protection for someone who doesn't know what they're doing. I think I'm gonna double heat shrink this with the heat shrink that I ordered. I thought about finding a cool color of heat shrink, but what I found was just black and blue, and they had some like silver and clear, but I don't know, I might go back and order the clear. I think it'd be cool. So, yeah, I think that once I get a little bit more experience, I'm going to build a battery, because this is a BMS. I don't know exactly what this little chip is. I originally thought, because of the blue light, that this is the BMS, but it might just be a Bluetooth module for the BMS. Maybe that comes with it, but it's wired up and connected, and it's also got a clear plastic heat shrink tubing. So if anything, I think this is a Bluetooth module, and it just handles the connection. Because this is a big metal electronic, this has to handle voltages and amperages. It's a more commercial and has to be protected. So the Bluetooth signal probably wouldn't be super great in there. I imagine the Bluetooth signal needed to be separated, so that's what that module is. Either that or this BMS was originally built with no wireless connectivity in mind, and then was put in later. I'm sure if I looked hard, I could find a USB service port. I'd have to do more cutting. I also, maybe I'm smart, maybe I'm not. Maybe I have a death wish, but do you want to know what I used to get into this battery? A razor blade. So as long as I'm careful, right? Like, don't cut the blue wire, and don't cut the BMS. So this video is going to be longer than I thought. So yeah, it's just two like T-shaped metal plates with a motherboard separated, or put in between the two of them. So I have cut this one, cut this one, cut this one. Okay, and the negative terminal comes all the way to the bottom and then splits. And oh, I guess the positive splits too. So it has 3 connection points. I wonder if that's just for power delivery, because it obviously has to deliver a bunch of power. Sorry, I'm trying to concentrate, so I'm probably not doing the best filming. But, I mean, if you aren't interested, turn me off. Whoop, 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 whoop. Ooh, ooh, ooh. See, earlier, I was just ripping tape off of this. I was like, wah! But then there's wires in the tape. So you have to be pretty careful. It's probably why Onyx told me not to take this battery apart, because if I rip a wire out, it's probably bad. You know what I'm saying? Do you know what I mean? Okay. Oh, is it screwed on? I think it's just like really taped. I'm kind of trying to be careful, but honestly, I'm impatient, and obviously I'm pretty sure I'm on the spectrum. I haven't talked to a doctor about it, and I don't want to like Twitter diagnose myself, but I see a lot of autistic memes that I'm like, dang, man, that like they hit me hard, and Like, they talk about, like, your childhood and, like, the certain things that you did. And I'm like, dang, these memes, they're talking to me, but they're always about autism. And I'm like, shoot, dang. Because I'm 97 percentile ADHD, by the way. So if I seem like maybe I'm on drugs or I'm obviously disorganized and can't keep on one single train of thought, you'd be fucking right. Yeah, you got that shit down. Oh, so this is just padding. And it's not even like special padding. Like, there's nothing flame retardant about this. I learned that this was called, this tape with the fiber in it is called filament tape. So I have ordered filament tape. I have ordered this. I ordered hardcore heavy duty resistant tape. Most of the heavy resistant tape was in copper, but I didn't feel comfortable wrapping an electric battery in copper, so I ordered it's like PFE ceramic tape. So that'll be safe and fire resistant and heavy duty. So this is a battery. I don't know if this green stuff is important. It's probably just adhesive tape. Dang, dude, you're ripping out wires. If my battery still works, which it does, I'm going to be amazed. I am amazed. If it makes it through this, I'll be pretty sold on the idea of I'm going to build batteries. Okay, so this BMS is not screwed on. It is literally held on by this adhesive. Why is that plastic adhesive, but this one isn't? Are they the same shade? I bet it's just glue, like they just brushed it with glue and then put the BMS on, which makes sense. You don't want to use a whole lot of metal, and you also don't want your metal BMS plates touching onto your battery. Again, kids, do not do this at home. What I am doing is very dangerous. I keep touching all kinds of things without gloves on, and I probably shouldn't. So just fair warning to everyone. Don't be like Austin. Be better than Austin. You can use your brain and your body in a better capacity. See, what happens if I break these wires? Do I just gotta solder new ones? Am I doing it wrong? How do you pull this tape off? I hate it. I hate it here. Okay, I think that's good. We'll leave that. All right, so this plastic sheet. Be gentle with your electronics. Do not do dumb shit with them. So, I've separated it from the plastic, but I've just now decided there's no point in doing that completely. I don't need to resolder it. I am going to take these wires off. John Angel, damn him. Has anybody heard of this John Angel guy? Do y'all understand what he does to me? He tells me these thicker wires are beautiful and sexy, and then the next thing you know, I'm trying to order thicker wires, but even these are not thick enough wires for me now. I have to go bigger. I need thicker wires. What was John saying about 8 gauge? Was it 8 gauge? I don't know. If anyone watches his stories, let me know. I hear he's pretty popular, but I also hear he spends a lot of time on the family farm, and I don't know what that's about. It's kind of sketchy, if you ask me. Anyway, so 6 gauge wire. Look at how much difference that is. I know there's 8 gauge wire that would probably be sufficient, but go big or go home. Or if you know that the motion of the ocean is more your style, you can take your choice. But what I want to tell you is that sometimes this doesn't do the job that this does. So if you have a little bit of intelligence and class, go big, always go big. I'm going to replace as many wires as I can on this. I'm not super comfortable replacing the leads here, and I won't be doing any kind of welding or soldering on the 18650 cells at all, because I'm not comfortable with that either. But I'm going to cut these at a certain point, and just switch them to 8 gauge so that at least from a certain point they have capable power delivery. I am getting the idea in my head that I need a new motor and a new back tire and a new swing arm. So I guess I'm going to hit that up and get the swing arm taken care of. But I'm going to mention, he already said it's a bigger tire on the back, I think. But you don't have to have a bigger motor just because you have a bigger tire. Like, I could use that motor and just spoke it onto a bigger rim, which is cool. But I kind of want a bigger tire because it's more stability, and it's also obviously rear wheel drive. So putting more stability and more power into your back tire, excuse me, just makes more sense. I'm also gonna reverse my turbinators because I put them on backwards when I installed them. So that'll be a thing. Anyway, I'm thinking about ordering a new motor and a new controller. The Kelly controller is awesome, but I think it's the same situation as this. Like, I don't have another controller here, but I'm going to put the Kelly controller right here and say that